I think it was the best show of this year.
Better than Interview with the Vampire?
I think so.
Wow. I don't know if I would say that.
You can make a case for both, honestly.
Crazy Stupid Podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if this is your first time watching, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so that you are aware of when we post things. Hey everyone, so as you know, TikTok's probably gone. So if you want to continue seeing the content that we're going to be creating, in our bio, you will see a link to all of our social media accounts. If you wouldn't mind, please feel free to follow us on our additional accounts in the case that TikTok does get banned. We can still continue to have our great conversations that we've had. We really appreciate the support that you guys have had with us over the last 2 years, and we want to continue this for many more. Thanks. See you all.
This is part 3 of our top 10 movies and TV shows of the year.
Let's do it. Next one I have is something that did not air in 2024, but I just finished. I gotta say, man, you guys were telling me to watch Hunter x Hunter, and I understand why. I get it. I will say, Gege Akutami, he had to have been a major fan of Hunter x Hunter because,
really?
Yeah, this feels like JJK was like a successor to Hunter x Hunter, especially this last arc. There's so many inspirations to themes, to character motivations, to character designs, to character inspirations. So much of it feels like you were trying to build off of the foundation of Hunter x Hunter while also paying homage to it. Like it didn't feel like you were like stealing anything. It felt like it was done in a very respectable and honorable way. That Chimera Ant arc, that was some of the best television that I have seen in a really long time. And I do feel like, I'm not saying every new anime needs to have as many episodes as some of these older ones do, but you feel the difference in the payoff. You feel the difference. And I would say the best that we probably get right now is with Jujutsu Kaisen doing 24 episodes this season. They're able to get a lot of incredible stuff done. Some parts do feel a little bit faster than others, but nonetheless. But people moving in that 10 to 12 to 9 for anime, bro, I don't know. Sometimes it can be a little jarring. And yeah, you know, you don't waste time, and so that you can be appreciative of that. But there are certain moments where like the payoffs for these characters, you feel everything. And that I have learned to appreciate a little bit more. The more anime that I watch, that I go back to watch some of the ones that are considered the greats, I've just learned to appreciate those a lot more. I could try to pick a favorite character. I don't think I could, because I love so many of them on there. And the world is so expansive. You want to continue to learn so much more about this world that these characters are in. Sometimes world building, if it's not done in the best way, it can be a little boring, but I never really felt that.
All right, my number 4, Say Nothing. Now, maybe this is so high on my list because I just watched it. I don't know. But I loved this miniseries. Say Nothing. Man, I want so much more television about real life resistance movements. The good, the bad, the ugly. I knew of the IRA as like I knew what they were. I knew what they were fighting for. You know, I watched Peaky Blinders not all the way to the end. But I got to the point where like the IRA was involved. Yeah. But just seeing their story, specifically the Belfast Brigade, brought to life in this way and with the focus on these 2 women. And I went and I looked up, and the story that they're telling is true. Like this is there wasn't that much embellishment. This was like the story that was presented to us on screen is very factual. Yeah. They were not a perfect organization by far. A lot of the stuff that they did actually ended up harming their own community. They like in their efforts to fight for their community, they did a lot of harm to their own community. I just really appreciated a personal look at like just extremely radical people that were very clear on what they believed and what they were fighting for. And there was absolutely no limit to what they would give up in order to achieve it. Their own lives, it didn't matter. They were just so locked in, and it was a community-wide effort. It was everybody in this community was like, we got the backs of these people because we know what they're trying to achieve for us. Yeah. It was just very fascinating. Such an interesting portion of history that I personally did not know very much about at all. They focus on these two sisters who are responsible for one of the larger bombings that the IRA committed in London. Their story and how committed they were to this cause, even down to like when they were caught and they were in prison and they had a hunger strike. And I mean, I don't think there's enough appreciation for people who are willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And it's not that they are faultless. I disagree with a lot of the things that they did. I think a lot of people were hurt and harmed, but I think an honest telling of these types of groups of people is so essential. What came to mind also when I was watching the show was like the way that we talk about the IRA is very different than the way that we talk about groups that, from my understanding, seem very similar in the Middle East. That are probably using very similar tactics. I mean, the IRA was building bombs. The IRA was unaliving civilians. The IRA was like, they were by no means like they did a lot. Watching this made me think like, I think we need stories like this from all over the globe. Not to sanitize it. Don't try to, you don't need to paint them as heroes. Many times they were not. But just like an honest telling of like, they did horrific things, and this is why, and this is who they were, and this is what they were fighting for, because history is just not black and white.
Well, that kind of reminds me of the video that you were telling me about after Oppenheimer came out, with the sort of nuance that they tried to show his character. And that one TikTok creator was like, well, if we want to do that for Oppenheimer, then like we should consider the idea of doing that for someone like Osama bin Laden.
She was kind of being facetious when she said it, but drawing the comparison of like, listen, if you can make a movie about this, then we can make a movie about him and nobody should have any problems, basically.
Rami did that in one of his episodes in his TV shows, and I felt like he handled that with such grace and care, where you did not walk away trying to make, paint Bin Laden as like some kind of freedom fighter. You understood the feelings that he was, I guess, portraying to Muslims, that Rami on some of it could understand some of the feelings that were present in that conflict. You do walk away, sort of denouncing some of the tactics that he does, but you are sort of left with this slightly more nuanced opinion of it.
Yeah,
which is necessary.
People are not two-dimensional.
Yeah.
No matter what they do, no matter what heinous things they do or crimes they commit, they are complex human beings who are motivated by things.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to understand people's motivations. All right, I think I'm in my top 3 now. Number 3, Dune Part 2.
Oh, Dune's number 1 for me.
I knew it was going to be number 1 for you. Had to be in my top 3. I stepped away from it because the online discourse was insufferable.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But I had to reconnect with my experience actually watching the movie, and that was top tier.
Oh my gosh. Just peak cinema.
Timothée Chalamet, the man that you are. I love him. The only thing I have not seen, I never watched Call Me By Your Name. I know that's like what got him like one of his first Oscar nods. I haven't seen that movie, but I've seen everything else. I've seen The King. I have seen Little Women. I have seen Lady Bird. I have seen Don't Look Up. I've seen them all. And Bones and All. I forgot about Beautiful Boy. Every time. He's magnetic on the screen.
He kind of breaks the stereotype of what a male actor in Hollywood is supposed to look like in these lead roles.
Yes, it has actually impacted his career. Now, personally, I think it saved him. But he tried out for Maze Runner and he tried out for Divergent, and he was denied both roles because he was too skinny. Now,
listen, this is how you know the Lord is real. Because that saved his career. Okay?
Love Dylan O'Brien.
But
have we seen him since? Now, he has put on pounds for this. Is it Bob Dylan?
A little bit.
Is it Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
He's put on some pounds for this Bob Dylan movie. Him being cast, I think, as the lead in Dune, I feel like, now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the book he is described as a very skinny little kid.
It's perfect.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I take back what I was about to say then. But yes, I just want to see him in so much more. I feel like he might be a once in a generation talent. I don't want to do too much.
No, for real though. I think you could look at like, you have people like Cruise and Leo, Denzel, those sort of powerhouse. I'm just thinking about male actors at this moment. Those actors that are not transitioning out, but they're not as frequent as they probably were like 15 years ago.
Denzel is transitioning out.
Well, yeah, literally, because he's retiring. But Did you hear he's going to be in the next Black Panther movie?
Oh yeah, I saw. He's doing 5 movies with all Black directors. We're about to eat so good for the next couple years.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're fine. I just love that he's making an intentional effort. Apparently, he wasn't supposed to say it. Ryan Coogler was mad, so he had to apologize to him. It's like that's my bad, bro.
It's okay, Ryan. We don't know that much. We don't. He could be playing anybody.
It would have been a crazy cameo surprise, though. I think would have been kind of.
Oh,
wild.
he wanted to be a surprise,
maybe. Or maybe you see him in the trailer. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way,
that's okay, Ryan.
I'm still gonna be hyped as hell. I think what really made Dune 2 so impressive for me was the speech that Timothy Chalamet gave as Paul. Well, it's not in English. You have to sort of read the captions, but also because it's not in any language that anyone in the world like practices, it can seem a little kooky if everything doesn't land well. Like there are moments and lines where I'm like, yo, where he positions himself around the set, him walking up to people, like the change in like tone, it's such a turning point for the movie. And if that fails, you're not really convinced in this sort of decline altering path for Paul to that extent, and you're left with such conflicting feelings where it's like, yeah, you're trying to avenge your dad. It would have been easy for us to lose sight of Paul's motive if you didn't pull us back in with this is my father's ring that has our sigil on it, and they point it to Gurney, and he starts to get all teary-eyed, and so you're brought back into the innocence of Paul in the first film, and how much you loved his father Leto Atreides, because Oscar Isaac, I mean, it's hard to hate him, really, and the way that they were able to create such a great dynamic, and so you're pulled into it, but at the same time, you're like, you're kind of manipulating these groups of people because you know this religion is all manufactured. And so you have these two conflicting feelings going back and forth. He knew what he was doing. This is how you can do an adaptation. There's a bunch of stuff that they cut out, but the spirit of the film with the books is so aligned with each other. Perfect.
Absolutely. 100%
it's my number
agree.
One. I said this to my friends and they said that I was crazy. This movie has passed The Dark Knight for me. I think enough time has passed.
This is huge. This is huge.
I
you
know.
guys have no idea.
I've sat on this for a while. I've thought, because I was like, let me not say it on like a podcast episode because I want like recency bias, but like it's been almost a year. It's still there, bro. I don't know how else to say it. That kind of magic is what I felt with like very key movies. It's funny enough, they're all Christopher Nolan movies. Oppenheimer, Interstellar, The Dark Knight. Literally in my notes, I said there's not much that needs to be said.
It's just great.
Phenomenal. I think it's my turn.
It is.
All right. My third one, Interview with the Vampire.
Okay.
Interview with the Vampire.
That's my number one.
I think what makes Interview with the Vampire so special and so refreshing is that the themes that they're exploring are not new to Hollywood. They're not new to television, but they're doing a really good job at exploring certain social identities through like an interpersonal relationship, right? Like through the identity salient side of things, of like just like depending on context and who you're interacting with, some or more of your social identities are going to show up a little bit more. They're going to be more prominent. Like race showed up a lot, class showed up, sexism showed up, homophobia showed up, privilege showed up. So many things were showing up at so many different, religion was showing up in a lot of instances. And what made it so special for me, it didn't feel preachy.
Not at all.
And that I think is always the tell with who has not just done their homework, but like who understands it, and then who has the skill sets to portray those feelings and those dynamics in a way where it'll come to life and make sense for the viewer. There's a few people that I feel like do a really good. Jordan Peele does that incredibly well. Obviously, Interviewing the Vampire did incredibly well. There's a bunch of other people that you could probably name, but this one I feel like has probably done it the most refreshing with Louis, Lestat, Claudia, that and Armand. Those dynamics, they were able to explore so much in Interview with the Vampire, and I've thought about that show quite a bit.
Yeah.
Since it finished in season 2.
Yeah, that was my number one. I just thoroughly enjoyed that journey from start to finish. I know it's not done, but like, yeah. I mean, we watched both seasons like basically all at one time. It was hard to wait to watch the next episode to record because I was just so.
There's no way we're gonna not. Everyone was like, it's gonna be too much. it's going to be heavy. Yeah, you were right, but we weren't turning that off. I'm sorry.
I was just so
that wasn't going to happen.
In it, I think the performances from everybody were so captivating. I really felt like I intimately knew all of these characters.
Yes.
I just think you don't get TV like that all the time. I love their exploration of power dynamics and all of these different relationships and how they fluctuated and changed over time. I love the fact that nothing was ever simple, black and white. You could always come at the story from a different angle and it would make sense. You can take so many different messages and meanings, and there's just so much that you can draw from the story on so many levels. A lot of this has to be due to Anne Rice, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure.
The choices that they made and how they adapted it, the casting choices, the choice to infuse race into the story, it added so much. It's just very meaningful to me. I've really appreciated it.
And that's an example where people would be like, race swapping doesn't really enhance the story. Well, no, it definitely felt like it enhanced it here.
Yeah, there was so much more that they could say and do with that relationship. My number 2 is Arcane. Did you forget?
I'm so annoyed right now.
No.
You know what's crazy, bro? While I was putting my list together, I was like, I'm forgetting something. And I did what you did. I tried to Google like TV shows, and for some reason, I'm so annoyed.
That's okay.
My whole list is ruined.
We'll still get to discuss it together. I have been in love with that show since season 1.
So good, bro.
When I first watched it, just by chance, I had no concept of what that show was.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about it. It had already been out for a couple of years. I was just randomly on Netflix one day and it popped up and I was like, the animation looks cool.
Hell yeah.
Let me watch it. Binged that entire season and immediately went and told Adrian, you must. You must watch it. When you can take really great animation and really great storytelling and put them together into one thing, I just, for very similar reasons that we were just talking about with the Interview with the Vampire, it says so much through these different characters. There is so much to explore from all of their different motivations and the things that drive them, and all packaged in beautiful animation.
I think it was the best show of this year.
Better than Interview with the Vampire.
I think so.
Wow. I don't know if I would say that.
Well, what's your number 1?
Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, okay. You can make a case for both, honestly.
The only reason why I would say Interview with the Vampire is because I think Interview with the Vampire season 2 is stronger than Arcane season 2.
Oh, you know what? That's fair.
I think
I'll give you that.
Arcane season 1, to me, flawless, no notes. Arcane season 2, amazing, impeccable. Still my number 2 of the year, not flawless. I have like some minor issues. But to me, Interview with the Vampire has 2 flawless seasons that I think the pacing and the story and the characters and the arcs and everything in both of those seasons is impeccable. I don't have anything to nitpick at all for Interview with the Vampire. That's the only thing for me.
I give you that. Only one that we have left, because we already mentioned our 4, 3, and 1. My second one was Xmen 97.
That was almost an honorable mention for me. I knew it was going to be way higher on yours.
Hell
though.
Yeah, baby. This is nostalgia and childhood kicking in. Listen, you have no idea what it means to hear that theme song after so many years. It literally brought me back to being a child, being babysat by my grandmother, trying to fix that antenna to get it right so that we could hear the theme song. Bro, I think what is so impressive is that it definitely felt a little bit more mature than it did when we were younger, which is a choice. It is a choice. I couldn't help but think about the conversation that we have with Star Wars and the idea of like Star Wars is like for younger people, like for kids, maybe a little bit older, to like the teenage demographic. And so part of the criticism that I think you get a little bit from some of the fans is the idea of like the kookiness and the quirkiness. Some of it sort of pays homage to the original, but perhaps that's not what the audience that grew up on the prequels is looking for. And so there is like this tuck and pull of like, what direction should they take the feeling and the vibe of Star Wars right now? And I was anticipating them to stick to what they had originally been doing with Xmen 97, but they didn't. They made it a little bit more mature, which I do say I can appreciate. And I thought the animation was incredible. So I tip my hat to at least some studios are acknowledging that like people still do want animation. It's never really left, but I'm glad that it's kind of making somewhat of like a pop cultural comeback.
Yeah, and 2D animation at that.
Yes.
The fact that we're about to have that 2D animation Lord of the Rings movie in theaters.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't that good though.
That's really sad. I should have put it as an honorable mention probably, but I think it definitely meant more to you than to me because I didn't grow up watching it. But I still really, really enjoyed it. I really appreciated the conversations that we were able to have about that show.
Listen, if you make X-Men, Marvel, please listen. You need to center it around Storm. That's $1 billion right there. I'm telling you. A literal god to these people. There's no other way to describe it. That kind of power, there's no other way for you to display and portray a character like that. They just nerfed her so much. I love Halle Berry. I don't even remember what the other actress's name was who did the other, but...
Oh, yeah. It's okay.
It's not a good representation of power scale and what Storm is really capable of. I think they did it with Magneto, but never with her. I think and it's a little bit with Jean.
I have to say I'm super nervous if the MCU decides to take on the X-Men.
I feel that.
I am very nervous. If they decide to intro Storm, I hope they let Ryan Coogler do it through a Black Panther movie.
A Ryan Coogler X-Men film would be fuego.
It would be. I was even saying. I mean, that'd be cool.
Yo.
I was even saying that. I was just like,
the introduction of her.
I really hope a Black person gets to handle the introduction of Storm. I think that's important. I think that the casting will be. I don't trust the cast. We don't have a great track record. No hate, no shade. Don't cast no biracial girl to play Storm.
Nah, I feel you.
It's
necessary.
That.
It's necessary. Okay. Literally necessary to the plot.
Yeah.
And also something that's very important, the political side to the X-Men story is very vital, but and adjacent to that is the drama and the relationships and sort of the messiness that's happening there. That shows up in every iteration and adaptation. It's necessary for it to feel like a family, really, you know? And I felt like 97 did such a good job of portraying that again, where you did walk away feeling like, oh, this feels like a family. The last time I felt like I felt that in the MCU was in Age of Ultron, when they were just kind of hanging out. They're trying to lift up Thor's hammer. Like, it had been
Guardians.
a while. Like, okay, yeah, that's true. Guardians, I think, is probably the second outside of the Avengers that I'd put into that. But sometimes it feels like that component is missing a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to rush them. Take your time.
Hell yeah. I think
we have botched the X-Men enough.
I think they're going in a direction where, like, it's younger X-Men. Like, I saw a report of Sadie Sink being Jean, which would be an indication of, like, I think we're going a younger vibe.
Okay.
Because Miss Marvel and then Wanda's kids were sort of deemed as, like, mutants. It sounds like maybe like a bit of like a Stranger Things vibe for the X-Men is probably what we might get. So it might be a little refreshing.
Okay.
Might be refreshing. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That sort of does it for our list. We'd love to hear what you all think about our list. Please no judgment on any of the things that we haven't watched. We just, as mentioned, we don't do this full time. So just give us some grace.
It's been a wild year.
Yes, we will get to it. I promise. But we would also love to hear what your favorite movies and TV shows were. So please give us your ranking and your list in the comments. Continue the conversations. We love the, conversation that you guys bring in our comment section. So we're appreciative of you on that. We want to wish you guys a happy holidays in any way that you celebrate it, and a happy new year. And we will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.